Hey guys, Ashton here with our Osight podcast. We're going to be diving into some cool details about some green dots, and some other cool things. We're actually here with a 9 times national champion for PCC for USPSA, Max Leograndis. We're here with the co-founder and VP of the company, and one of the top people who really give a lot of cool features for the products and innovations for Osight, David. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into some cool features about the green dot sites and some technical features for you guys. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to David and let you talk about a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, I think it's really cool that we're here. I feel like I'm in the presence of greatness here. I'm just a guy here, but these guys, they're where the rubber meets the road. And thank you, Max, for
Yeah,
coming
of course.
out, and Ashton, and you guys are superstars. I track you guys, and it's great to have you guys on the pro team.
Yeah, awesome.
And
Yeah, it's great to be involved with Osight. Like one of the main reasons that I wanted to come on board and join you guys is because your attention to detail and like pursuing real world feedback from people who are in the field using it, whether it's competitive shooters or hobbyists or like maybe military in the future. I don't know, law enforcement, military kind of thing. But yeah, it's just it's really great to see that feedback loop happen in real time. And I've been super impressed with some of the changes that you've made based on our feedback really quickly, like some of the things that I brought to you and you're like, we're already working on a solution for it, or, you'll have a new prototype with that thing fixed. Um, like a trip to China and back, and then it's like already, in the works to be implemented. So really, really exciting. And yeah, I like the pace that everything's moving at. It's really fun.
that's good to hear.
So
We're fast, and we're all ears. Yeah, I think probably not half the stuff we actually set in motion, but we're always listening and trying to get the feedback,
yeah,
from the
Yeah.
ground, from the front lines, let's say.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So I guess today we're going to talk a little bit about the green dot, explore a little bit, and maybe some of the technical
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
aspects of the green dot.
Yeah.
Uh, Before we do that, I'd like to say a little bit, like it took us about a year to get the green dot out. And when we set out, it was not a light venture. We really dug deep into the green dot. Not just that we knew that people wanted green dots, it was a trend, it was high demand, but we dug deep even to human physiology. So maybe we talk a little bit about that.
Right. Right.
And in particular, our green dots that have come out, there's 3 particular unique aspects that has made it, let's say, better than the market.
Right. Right.
We can get into that a little bit, but
And right now, what's the current Osight lineup that has green dots that we currently offer right now? We have a C in green,
CGN,
X
X-
multi reticle, and then we have the SE, which is the
carrying
6MOA.
close.
6MOH.
Yeah, is that all we have for green right now?
S also, or no, not yet.
Uh,
The SE for sure.
yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause we got stuff cooking.
I'm
Cool.
interested to hear kind of the progression because obviously there's some new LED technology that I know you've mentioned to me,
Yeah.
but I'm not super up to date on it. But I know back when Osight was just kind of a concept, and the original optic came out that kind of first on the scene was the Olight Osight,
Mhm.
and now Osight's a totally separate entity. And this team here in Chandler, Arizona, like you guys are running it. It's not part of the big Olight company as far as management goes. And yeah, and they came out with a green version of the Olight Osight. And now over a year later, we're hearing the technology's got even more advanced, higher battery life, based on maybe like lower voltage on the emitter where you get the same brightness.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, we'll dig in a
little.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the difference between in 2024, the Olight Osight was those were somewhat off the shelf.
Okay.
But when we started in 25, we began to roll out our own in-house developed reticles
Okay.
and even technology that doesn't exist on the market yet. You hinted at a couple things,
Yeah.
which leads to a lot of questions. For example, the green came out and people were asking, how come the runtime is higher than red?
Right.
It doesn't make sense because everybody else, the green dot is
Yeah.
less runtime.
Traditionally.
The simple answer is that we're using our own in-house reticles that efficiently sends the photons downstream and not waste it. I guess I'll go in a little bit. In considering green, we're not just looking at market application and market demand and how competitors are using it, how daily carry people are using it, the preferences, but we also actually dug deep and looked at human physiology. And I learned a lot. We have actually 4 different types of sensors in our eyeballs. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
We have rods and cones, right? And the rods are for a nighttime, mainly black and white, and then the cones are responsible for color. And there's actually 3 different kinds of cones: red, green, blue. And they all have their own sensitivities and graphs, and this is all studied in the 60s.
Cool.
But the interesting thing is the peak sensitivity for rods and cones are different. And of course, we mainly use it daytime. So we actually have 20 times more rods than cones, the nighttime sensors.
Wow.
But they actually play, this might be interesting to you, because like the rods are not just for nighttime, but it's also for fast action. It detects motion faster, I guess for different kind of training scenarios where you're picking up things in your periphery.
Yeah, constantly for competitive shooting, for sure. Yeah.
So, but there's 20 times more than your color cones.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, I digress.
It's interesting stuff. I mean, it has a correlation between, competitive shooting, what you see through the dot, and maybe how much of those you can actually access, maybe to see good vision. So I think it's interesting stuff to learn about.
I saw this thing recently, which kind of blew my mind, but the apparently, I don't know how true this is because it was probably an Instagram reel, but apparently not everybody sees noise like on a camera, when you're filming in the dark. It's noisy, it's like staticky.
Yeah.
So I noticed like my eyes work similar to a camera lens. Obviously I have 2 eyes and we're like, depth perception and everything.
Yeah.
But if you close your eyes, I see a noise pattern. I feel like, I didn't know that not everyone did. I still don't know if that's true, but apparently not everyone sees that, or like the way that everyone's eyes work is a little bit different. So
I think mentally most people tune that out. They
Yeah.
filter it in their brain, but the eyes itself will pick up all kinds of like static noise.
Yeah.
It might even be picking up like interstellar particles that pass through the earth, right? You know those things?
yeah, like, what, tachyons or something?
Yeah.
But the
But we filter that out, kind of.
learning more about cameras and settings and everything, ISO, aperture and all that. It's like I can see that stuff happening in my own eyes, especially when you play with like focal depth change, acquiring target quickly, and like training the muscles to focus back and forth quickly. It's just very interesting. And
so later on, I would really like to poke your brain and see what your processes are. You're mentioning a little bit of it, how you're self-analyzing, closing the loop, and kind of being hyper analytical on your equipment, in a sense, both equipment in your head and arms, and also your guns,
Very interesting for sure. He's got very fast eyes, to ever track some of that stuff I've seen him do is very impressive. So David, I did have a question, what for the new green dot, what was kind of like the thought, moving into making a new green technology anyways? Like, why not just use the pre-existing stuff that's floating around out there?
So this goes to our overall company philosophy, is that we're not really here just to make red dots. We considered all kinds of categories and everything. We're looking very, very deeply on opportunities in the market, namely things that the market has missed. People keep doing the same thing because it works. They're not really innovating and looking for a gap. You guys are competitive shooters. You look for gaps, advantages, and you analyze what's the best foot forward and the highest, what do you call, percentage rates, right? So in looking at the green dot, we knew it was a big opportunity, but we didn't want to just have another variant. We looked deep into all the way down to human physiology and also the technology behind it. So since you brought out the green dots, let me just identify 3 things that we have done different. Actually, before those 3 is our philosophy is really to look deep at the whole picture, you know. So the 3 things, I would say, one is our own reticle in-house development.
Okay.
We partnered with some companies with equipments that are multi-million-dollar equipment to test, make sure the manufacturing is consistent. They have all the tools to do what we needed. So we worked with them and developed a reticle, a light, LED light technology. I'm trying not to leak too much of how we've done it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
But we're sending photons downstream in a narrow way, not just everywhere.
Okay.
Traditionally, LED lights, they just shoot in all directions.
So more directed.
Yeah.
So if you think of like a flashlight, it's concentrating the beam into a path that you want with a lot of photons that are going everywhere. So is this different from that, where instead of like a parabolic concentrator, you're just shooting them exactly where you want on the lens?
Yeah. Yep, you could say that. A flashlight, you know, the focus. Or another one is trying to hit a target with a shotgun at 100 yards versus a zeroed rifle.
Right,
you
right,
know.
right. Yeah.
So most people, they're just blasting out light everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's number one, our own reticle.
Okay.
It's so effective that even our red dots, people with astigmatism, they're like, what? How come it's not, how come it's so clear?
Yeah, very, very crisp and clear.
Yeah. So this is what our number one advantage. The second one is it has to do with human physiology. Our peak sensitivity is like 555 nanometers, something like that.
Okay.
For the cones. And I think our green dot's at 525. But actually, our 3 different cones, there's I'm getting hyper technical here. There's red cones, there's green cones, and there's blue cones. 60% of our cones are red, 30% is green, and then 10% is blue. Blue is actually more sensitive than any other ones.
Wow.
But somehow our eyeballs are, it's balanced out.
Yeah.
But each of those have their own sensitivity. This is studied in the 60s. But the combined sensitivity is at 555. In fact, your blue and your red pick up some of the green as well. That's why the combined graph, it's at 555. Our green dot is right at like 535, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's right there,
Wow.
Okay. Just like average for like on average, the peak sensitivity that we receive is at 555, or is this like everyone's eyes work the same and they're like?
So average is 555.
Okay.
But the green picks up some of the red cones pick up some of the green. Obviously, the green is right there. I think it's 535 is the green, where our green dots are right on.
So there's a wide variance in the types of eyes that people have and how exactly they work, but like in general,
they're wired to your brain. It's like all these sensors go in your brain processes that.
Yeah.
Even our cones pick up that peak. The cones have a 507 peak, so it's more blue-green.
Yeah.
But our cones are more green-yellow.
I guess I'm just wondering if could there be so much variance in maybe genetics or something where some people actually do pick up blue or red on a way different color spectrum way better, or is it on average like there is variance, but it's always like green, in the center has the most?
So this is kind of on average. They did a study of many different people.
Yeah.
And they have found variances between people. We all actually see differently with our own eyeballs.
Yeah.
Even our left-right eye, you probably read, different things. Of course, our brain will normalize and balance things out. Like, we all have a blind spot where the optical nerve goes out.
Right. Yeah.
If you can actually find out where your blind spot is, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But the average is 555
Okay.
with the cones, and even the rods, they all pick up some of it. And so the green is the most sensitive, right, for human eye. Then the question is, why are green dots not, the typical green dots have lower runtime. right?
Right. Yeah, typically.
Yeah. So it's because they actually pick a different spectrum, and also they're not as efficient, right? Remember I was talking about the dots. It should be most efficient, and that's what we've achieved, as it should be.
Right, right.
The green dots have more runtime.
Nice.
So the third thing is our coatings. Our coatings are optical grade. If you actually take, I won't mention the very popular red dot, even some of the high-end ones, you look at theirs and ours, oh my goodness, it's a world of difference. You'll see some that have a green hue to it, a purple hue to it. Maybe we can do a cutaway video, I don't know, but you just look side by side, ours is optically superior.
Yep.
It is. We've done our homework, we've done it, we've tightened the process up, and anyway, that's number 3.
Right.
So you look at our products, they're simple, they're elegant, but a lot has gone into it to make sure that we're leading the market. We
Right.
are.
So if, what's one thing like when a consumer is to hold our green dot sight and look through it, what's something you want them to notice that stands out versus a competitor's green dot sight?
I mean, if you put them side by side, you'll notice ours is brighter. Or if you dial them the same, we'll dial down, and it should be crisper.
Yeah.
Particularly the aspherical lenses.
Yep.
They're super sharp.
Yeah, definitely helps having a spheric lens for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like you're looking through nothing.
Yeah.
Like
That's the idea. Right?
yeah. Since sights, like since I started shooting over a decade ago, it's always been like you just get used to it, but it's kind of annoying where there's distortion, there's color distortion, and then even on red or green sights from the same manufacturer, the coatings have to be different because of the way they interface with the colors, I guess. I remember at one point I put 2 rifle sights in line on my gun because I was trying out putting only the ring and then only the dot.
Yeah.
So I did like red dot, green ring, and then I would try the other way, like green ring, red dot.
That's cool.
And have them like independently adjustable brightness, and like the gun looked really stupid. But I did this at a Barry Steel Challenge out in St. George one year, and a lot of the stages were Steel Challenge, so it was all fast target acquisition. I was just testing it out for fun. It really didn't affect my performance at all, but it looked dumb. I had like 2 big sights on there. But I noticed that if I switched it, the way that the coating, the series of coating interfaced, it would make like basically red first, green second like worked, I think, if I remember correctly. But then switching it would like totally ruin the brightness of one of the other colors because of the order that the coatings were interfacing. So I just thought that was interesting.
That's so cool because I do the same thing. Because I don't shoot competing with it. I can't believe you went out there with 2 dots in line.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was like, why don't we do this? Because like the multicolor is even easier to pick up when it's swinging around as you're transitioning.
Yeah.
And then I realized like the companies were like, oh, you can't do that because coatings are different. Just it wouldn't work correctly. So yeah.
The coating's really to enhance the dot reflection back, But yeah, it should be clear, as you said.
And on the battery life, that has been a big gripe from people, is having to deal with a battery on a green dot that's not as efficient and doesn't last as long. How is that even something to innovate and to make achievable by Osight? Is it just the redirecting and more focus that help with that, or is it?
Well, without giving away our trade secret, it's like sending lead down in the right direction instead of all over.
Yeah. Wow.
Right.
Yeah, that's really impressive. I think that's been one of the things I've heard from people that kind of held them back from it is, product to product, just having lower battery life has been something. And so being able to achieve that, it seems like that might be a problem in the past moving forward for green dots from us.
So kind of back to what we started is we're always looking for opportunities. We're listening. We're trying to incorporate all that into future product, and we always want to do better.
Right.
Better. So, yeah.
Well, cool.
So how does I know people ask for green dots all the time, but in the market we see a kind of 50-50 split. But what about the competitive world? How does the green dot play in? Is it still preference? Is it what kind
I think it's preference. Yeah. I see kind of the same split. I feel fine going back and forth. Using either one's good to me. But I tend to lean toward green if I just had to pick one. I think it does matter a lot where you are. Being out here in the desert, the red doesn't contrast as well against a lot of the background that we have, because we have reddish dirt, like brownish dirt, kind of
Yeah.
washes it out. So what I look for is how can I have the optimal dot where I don't have to have the brightness too high. Like I want at the right level where I can pick it up easily as it's like swinging around in motion, like the streak of the dot, whether that's recoil
Yep.
or transitioning quickly. Like if my eyes are on target and dot's coming in here, I want my periphery to pick it up at the earliest point so I can kind of judge the distance and momentum that I have to get to the center of the target. And that's all done like subconsciously. That's like the main thing that I think dry fire has helped me with visually is making sure that transitions are aligned to my index of what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So if I can get a reticle that is dim so it's precise, because I like a precise dot. I know that everyone goes back and forth on like 6 MOA, 2 MOA, that kind. Like I prefer a smaller dot that my eyes pick up well. And green tends to do that for me a little better, but going back and forth is totally fine. But I know some people, they're like, I can only use red. It's just what works for me, because maybe it's the green on white steel. That's like one of the weaknesses of green, is when we shoot white steel, especially like glossy paint on it.
Eats it up.
It's kind of, yeah. I mean, we rely on our index and like see the dot coming in, and you know it's going to be there. But red can contrast a little better on white steel sometimes. But I think green, even in grassy ranges with a lot of vegetation in the background, it's usually a much darker, like, you know, a plant green like that you'd see on leaves rather than that super bright artificial LED.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But like one of the things I thought was before we even started using dots a lot, with iron sights, I would actually go back and forth between red and green fiber
Okay.
a lot of the time. And like my eyes would get used to it. And I always felt whenever I switched to the other color, it would immediately be like a benefit to my performance. Like I would pick it up. And the thing was like, you're used to it, I guess. So just because it's changed, your eyes see it like quicker because it's different. Yeah. But I did not notice that with dots at all. So going back and forth between red and green, I don't get the same sensation. And I always, even if I'm running red or running green for a ton of time, then I go back to red, I still prefer the green a little better. I don't get that that boost to my perception.
That's interesting.
It seems like when you're competing, it's more about the intensity contrast, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not thinking red or green. You're just seeing a bright spot. It's almost monochrome when you're not thinking red or green. You're thinking bright spot and target, right?
Right.
And the contrast between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say for me, I've always been a red dot shooter. So, you know, I had a lot of friends who use green, especially in Florida. You have a lot of vegetation background versus out here in Arizona, you have this red, brown, desert-like backdrop. So I have transitioned using green for my EDC to get a feel for it. And I do a lot of dry fire with the green, and I'm the same. I don't see any big jump out difference between the two versus the color of the actual target. So the white background targets, those guys kind of absorb a lot of that green versus the red really contrast against it. But that's one of the only fast differences that I noticed. Shooting at the USPSA targets, it didn't make a difference for me. And go to say, just like you said, I'm not really looking for a particular color to come in to play. I'm looking for the dot
contrast.
Yeah, just the contrast item. So I see the target being target focused. The dot comes in, and as soon as I see that dot in acceptable areas when I pull the trigger. So for the competitive feel, either one has been okay for me. And I am curious to see, you know, playing with it more in competitive and seeing different styles of backdrops, different color targets, you know, things like that, to be able to get more feedback on it. But that's my immediate impression from it, is it's not, you know, changing to where I can't compete, you know. So it is interesting to hear that you could see a difference between the iron sight posts and feel it when you hop back and forth from the red dot to green dot. It's not too much of a difference.
I still have no idea why that was, like why it didn't get the same.
That's just interesting. Yeah.
And with paper targets too, obviously like on a brown cardboard paper, both have really good contrast. But even with white paper, like in PCSL and IPSC rifle, even some IPSC handgun championships, they will have red no shoots and white shoot targets. Like in PCSL, that's how we designate our rifle targets. Because it's paper, it's cardboard, it's non-reflective. Both work great. They seem to work great, even when the sun's directly hitting it. The green might not set, but then even the red washes out a little bit too. So I think it's roughly the same. It's just whatever your preference is. But white reflective steel, especially when you use gloss paint, that's a situation where green definitely doesn't seem to show up as well. So I think if you're primarily a steel challenge shooter, like that's your primary thing, that maybe that's something to look out for.
I was just thinking about this thing, human, like, have you ever like stared at something white long enough? It just kind of disappears and fades.
Yeah.
When you move your eye, you'll see a shadow, a silhouette
bit.
of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe that has
That
to do
happens
with,
at the gym all the time when you do bench press because you're lying back
Right.
and then the
Yep.
stupid lights are like right in your eyes.
Yep.
And then as soon as you get up, like
Yeah, you see 'em
there's like
everywhere.
the bars all over the
Mhm.
place. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe it has something with that, where the brain is adjusting or
Mhm.
compensating, so it's not too bright. It kind of, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
tunes it out or something.
Yeah. So
So there was one thing I wanted to mention, was working with that facility. These guys had multi-million-dollar equipment. They have the precise equipment to measure the output of the reticles that they
Mhm.
produce for us, and they're able to produce things that are consistent and precise every single time. This is back in October, and they said something that really opened my eyes. They said they are able to control every single process to produce very, very consistent products. But the biggest uncontrolled variable is the human eye. And he was telling me how every person has a little variant. Their peaks, their astigmatism is only just the tip of the iceberg. We actually see different things with each of our eyes, even the two eyes, you know. So that really opened the whole world to me, because they had a few samples. I'm like, this one has bursts. It was like, but he looks at it. He was like, switch your eyes. I looked with my other eye. I'm like, it's a different dot.
wow.
I'm like, is my eye that bad? And he was like, no, everybody's eye has its own shape and sensitivity, and
Mhm.
our brain just tunes it out. So that was an eye opener too. So like, if we could switch eyeballs, then I'd be like, oh,
Yeah, just
Ashton's
see
got
something
these
different.
eyes.
Yeah, you could try it
That's
out.
why it's so important to test everything and look at, like, don't just buy it because someone else recommends it. Like
Yeah.
if you see us out at a competition, just like we'll put our gun on the safe table, just take a look through it. And yeah, we would love to have you guys check it out compared to your dots, and like your eyes might like one over the other, and we are total opposite from that. So
Yeah.
yeah, optimize for yourself. I get questions all the time. It's so annoying when people, they just they'll ask you like, what do you run, and have no idea what the even purpose is
Right,
behind
right.
the part.
Right.
They just
right.
want to copy you to get
Yeah.
the best thing. It's like, no, like take a little bit of time to even test it for
Yeah.
yourself.
But people will still do that. I want Max's setup.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah,
Ashton's
yeah,
setup.
It does happen, yeah. It's fair. I mean, if you're looking to get into it, the person you would first look to is the person who's the 9 times national PCC championship. It makes sense for sure. But just like you said on the other end of things, putting a little bit of a prior research in for yourself will be able to help you get an answer from him to be able to apply it better.
The funny thing is, I think I might have actually won each national title with a different optic.
Wow.
So
That's the
yeah.
best.
And then one year I was like, yeah, let's try this one. Like it literally delivered from Amazon on like Tuesday. I zeroed it Wednesday, and I like flew out to match Thursday or something like that.
Wow.
It's just a dot's a dot ultimately. Like it
Yeah.
comes down to the performance. Obviously, you can squeeze out little. Really, what it comes down to is how you feel running it. Like
Yeah.
if you're running a really nice optic, it feels better. It's like driving a nicer car, right?
Right,
But like
right.
ultimately, the performance is on you, and
Right.
the order of magnitude of in the scores of how prepared you are, how much practice you've put in, how you're transitioning to the targets, like that. That's just leagues ahead of the importance of the small differences that you get in optical clarity. But
Yeah.
when you're like, especially at the value that Osight's offering customers, which is just off the charts. So one of the other reasons why I'm so excited to be a part of this, like bringing that value to customers at prices that are basically like other companies' dealer prices,
Mhm.
and we're passing that savings on to the consumer and delivering a product that I think people are starting to realize that the quality is there, even though the price might throw you off at first. But then you try it and you're like, oh, like this is a really good value proposition.
It sounds like a sales speech, people. We didn't
Yeah.
prepare that. That was spontaneous. And we didn't prompt them. But the thing is, a lot of people, they credit like good basketball players to their shoes, their equipment.
Yep.
But I believe your secret sauce is not necessarily, it's your process. And I'd like to hear from you. What's your process before? How do you prepare the day of, and then after the event? Do you pick apart what happened in the day and how do you close that loop to improve yourself. I mean, I think that's your secret sauce, you know.
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
I would say I'm a vibes based shooter
Vibes based.
rather than so my process is about it's not technical and precise, but it's very strict about making sure that I can get into the flow of like and feel very natural with the gun, the recoil impulse and everything, and like and then other than that, it's like backing off and not really getting too mentally preoccupied with the match itself and the outcome. Definitely not being outcome oriented, you know, just let the match happen, be an observer, see what happens. And if I need to make changes or if I notice something weird happening, like I don't let it mentally affect me until I have time to think about it, like you said. So this last nationals, I was getting a lot of trigger freeze on day 1 and 2. And some of it was really bad. Like it would be on you know, the last target of a position as I'm trying to exit. And it would cost me huge fractions of seconds, or in some really bad cases, like multiple or like over a second, where I'd have to like stop, come back to the target, shifting momentum backwards, take a step, and then shooting the last shot on it, then leaving. And I realized that after day 2, I couldn't figure it out on day 1, but like, you know, the time in between shooting days, I'm just constantly like maybe texting people or just looking at my gun, that kind of thing, and going to function fire bay, trying different things. And I realized that I was probably running a spring. So it was a JP spring in an unrivaled buffer. And the guys had warned me about that going to solid height on compression before it actually bottomed out in the buffer. And when I looked at it, it looked totally fine. Like I was pressing it and like it was hitting the rubber stopper, no problem. But what I think was happening was it was actually exactly going solid right where it was hitting that. So like even the pressure variances round to round in the Supervel Blitz ammo I was running were causing the recoil impulses to either feel like normal and fast or like very slow and weird. And so the gun wasn't always behaving the same. So I'd do the same motion with my trigger finger to do a double, and sometimes it would work, and maybe like 10% of the time it wouldn't. And then I ended up actually switching to a spring and buffer combo that I knew was not going to solid height. It was like one of my backup ones that I knew. And like day 3, I had 0 trigger freeze the entire time. I just like mentally that was like so satisfying because I could just shoot, didn't have to worry about anything. And yeah, and just like I would think, you know, shoot this in at this pace and then get out of there, and it was just working all the time. Like we had a 3 on each stage, and I didn't. That's obvious that's commonly when a trigger freeze will come back in because we're used to shooting 2, and I had no problem even on that stage. It was just 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and yeah, so that's. I mean, being adaptable and being able to not get emotional about, you know, mistakes that are happening, and then being able to recognize stuff and make fixes mid-match if I can. That's I think one of my strengths that keeps me, you know, just keeps my performance robust and ensuring that I get the optimal score.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people when they have that issue, you know, they let it get to them versus you know, where you put the time in off the range, out of the range to try to figure it out. You know, taking advice from people that you know you can trust and know you and know how you shoot, know your gear that you use, and take that feedback in and try to put it forward to the next day and see how it goes. You know, on day 2, you said you started off, had a little bit of trigger freeze in the beginning, but you were able to figure it out for day 3, and that's the uphill battle we all face as competitive shooters. Is how you can take that adversity and kind of you know, step through it or step around it, you know, to achieve the overall. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good explanation on it as well. You know, being able to also find out springs compressing all the way to the point where they have no more right at that level. It's probably like, you know, right that fine line where you don't really know until the day of the match when you get into that live shooting too. So it's unfortunate sometimes, but it's cool to hear how you danced around that and overcame that. So
Yeah, more of my time is spent probably learning the systems and optimizing them, and talking to other people who are like-minded, like Zach and Kyle from Unrivaled, just like super nerds about everything. So it's great to have them, you know, because we were all squatted together.
yeah,
It's great to have them to talk to in real time as things are going on, and they'll just, you know, like, hey, you know, you might want to check this, and then just that little comment will like lead me down a path that like it will eventually lead to the solution. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And for some of these bigger matches, to tackle on more about that for mindset, you finish the match and now you're reviewing it. How are you, applying some of that stuff you learned from the match? Is it through just live experiences? Or are you watching the videos and studying the videos after? Tell us a little bit about your process after the match is concluded.
The videos help a ton. I think probably one of my biggest strengths since the beginning has been to be able to visualize, like, without a video, being able to visualize how it would feel and how it would look to shoot the stage in an optimal way.
Yeah.
Like, let's say, this is kind of unrealistic, but let's say you were putting 100% effort in, where that's like too risky, like the more mistakes come in there. But if you could imagine yourself putting 100 or 110% effort in, and then also hitting everything and executing all the positions at that pace, that's kind of like your optimal shooter, like Ashton's optimal performance.
Right.
Being able to visualize that at whatever level you're at, I think has been one of my strengths. So I'm always like pushing myself toward that vision,
Right.
and calibrating that vision based on what I see in my own videos. So like, yeah, especially when I was starting out, like, first 5, 6, 7, 8 years of shooting, videos were a major, and both first person and third person are both very effective. I think third person is probably a little bit more effective when you start out, but first person can start to bring in some like fine tuning things that you need to look out for on your transitions, and on it can also be very good for diagnosing malfunctions when they happen, because a lot of the time when you're clearing malfunction, you are not recording that information correctly. Like, you think you're doing something, but the gun's condition is a little off from what you expect. So being able to do that, like, some people think that they're not able to chamber around in the gun, and they, like, I saw it this past weekend. One of our shooters stopped because he thought that a squib went off. I didn't hear a squib at all, but he was having trouble just with, maybe it was a magazine issue. Tried to chamber around like 3 or 4 times and just missed it every time, probably because of nerves or adrenaline or something, and then gave up on the stage because he was convinced that his gun had a squib, and there was a blockage in the chamber, and it turns out it wasn't. So
Something in his mind, he was thinking.
yeah, and that kind of thing it's very, very nice to be able to diagnose after the fact, where you can calibrate what you thought happened to reality, and then that gets you even better at processing in real time.
So you take the video and go back and recheck what you had replayed in your mind,
Right.
to cross-check the data.
And then you'll get very good at being able to, like, watch your video and you already have an expectation. Like, what did it feel like as you come off the stage? What did it look like in the video?
Yeah.
And if you get closer and closer to that, you're going to be very good at visualizing your optimal run.
Before the run.
Before the run, right? So what does my controlled 95% look like? I'm going to execute that. Because some people are way off. They feel like they're controlled 95%. It's like, dude, that was like a 60% for you. Like, you were walking through the whole stage.
Yeah.
Or like, you thought that was controlled. Like, dude, you were out of, that was 110. You were like barely, getting a shot off before leaving positions. Ashton's a little bit more on that side of things.
I've been there. I've been there. I might be there.
So it's kind of like, before the stage, you run it in your mind, the whole scenario.
Yeah.
You run it, and then you take the video and you cross-check. Oh, it actually matches, or where I don't match, and you make corrections. And that's how you close the loop, kind of.
Yeah. Constant feedback, correction, and then you'll start to realize that a lot of the times when your stages have gone the best, it's just because you were efficient and you didn't look that fast.
Exactly.
And then from there, you learn how do I be more efficient at a higher speed? But it always looks very controlled. Even though when you're shooting it, like, you don't have time to correct errors. That's the thing, is like, you're really good at this, is you never give yourself a huge safety window, which is why your stage times are just like blowing everyone away. Like that one video that you did recently with the concealed draw, and it was a lot of in and out positions. That one, I haven't done it yet, but I send it to a friend that I give some advice to sometimes. But I want to be like, hey, look at this. Every single position that he's shooting in, he doesn't give himself any chance to make mistakes. So if you had trigger freeze, or if you had, a delta or maybe a mic coming out of the position, it doesn't matter. You're gone already. And you just have to be able to execute that set of targets. And you're starting your movement and your momentum where there is no time to error correct. And then by the time that last shot goes off, you're already entering the next position.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people they're not comfortable doing that. So they'll hustle, they'll be fast, they'll shoot fast, but they're static until they're satisfied. And then they'll start the movement. And it doesn't matter how much effort you put into that style of shooting, you're always going to be, on a stage that's at 15 seconds, they might be at 18.
Yeah.
Literally just because of the style, even if they're using more effort to move than you are.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to touch on that a little bit, I think the way that you closed the loop, going back to that was awesome. You got to be able to apply that what you learned from videos into on the control. For me, I'm definitely riding on that 110%, like you mentioned, for sure. There are times where it will hurt when you don't get yourself that time for that alternative plan B, because earlier you mentioned that you would, even with PCC, with the trigger freeze, it causes you to also have to come back into a position to re-engage it. And that adds a lot of time over a few stages. It's detrimental with the top level. So I do want to be able to achieve that level to where the risk to reward. You have a lot of risk there with it if you don't produce those 2 shots on the lean or on the fallout, for example. But I do think at the absolute best, if you were to have 100% control on a dial knob of what a person could do it in, and you cranked it to 100, it would look more or less like somebody who's not giving any time, not slowing down, like you said, bumping that person from a 15-second stage to 18 seconds solely because their style of shooting is coming in, running, but they stop and over confirm, wait to call the 2 shots. So it is a give take. And it's definitely hurt me before, as you've seen. I've had stages where I fell out of position and shot an alpha mic no shoot, and I have to jump back in and fix it or whatever goes on. But it is a certain style to play with.
The thing is, though, if you want to be a champion shooter, it's way easier to start at that style, and then bring in the control.
Yep.
Right on the edge, like
I agree.
Start too fast and then bring it back right to where you're consistent and winning. Because the shooters that are trying to, go faster with the style that is not a championship style of shooting,
it's tough.
It's very, very hard to change your mindset. And basically you have to abandon everything you've worked on because you're never going to progress past that. And there are a few shooters. There are many shooters who come up, might get a high level of skill really quickly, but you'll be able to identify who are the ones who basically have the championship style or are working toward that. Regardless of what, they might be finishing at 75% because they make so many mistakes at this point. But a 75% shooter that has that versus a 75% shooter who's shooting safe and working on their speed gradually over time, it's that person's never going to get to that high level unless they change their approach.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. It's at the top level, it comes down to the smallest little fractions too in the sport. That's one thing that keeps me very intrigued and interested, and makes me keep pushing for it. It's a lot of fun. I did have a question. How many of those matches, in your years of shooting, do you think ratio wise were green versus red?
Well, green didn't become a big thing until a few years, maybe 4 or 5 years into my shooting career. And then I think I stuck with it. But I think right when I got into shooting was the end of 24, beginning of 2015. I really liked LPVOs on rifles because out in California at Pyru, there was an X3 multi-gun and an X3 rifle match each month. And I really started because I wanted to do 3-gun. I got into the 1-gun stuff in PCC because it was just way more accessible.
Yeah.
But I was very enthusiastic about the 223 rifle matches. So they would basically do, a full 3-gun style match that was rifle only, which even now I haven't really seen this, be prominent across the country, even though it was such a great style of match. But we would shoot out to 400, 450 yards.
Wow.
There would always be a couple long range stages that had this massive cliff out in the background with the same target arrangements. They had flashers up in the hills, and we just shoot them in different orders or from different positions or whatever. So I was an LPVO shooter for a long time, and then PCC came around in 2016, 17. And I was just, I started out with the dot that I could afford, which was a cheap pistol Vortex Venom, which was more like an orange dot, not even a red dot. It just had an orange tint, not bright. not very clear glass or anything, but it worked, and that's what I started with. And then,
Wow.
and then from there, I just, became more of a gear nerd and started trying more and more things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's like the test that goes through for you to pick the optic? Like if you were to say, I have national championship, area match, whatever it is coming up in 2-3 weeks, you have a brand new fresh build, you could get anything, on the line. When you grab that optic, what test does it go through before Max brings it to a match and trusts it and uses it?
Just vibes at the time.
Yeah.
Vibes test.
Solely vibe. Sure.
And that might change week to week. Like it might just be an optic that I think is cool because
Yeah.
it's novel, it's new or something.
Right.
But there was a period where I ran the Leupold LCO,
Mm-hmm.
which was a single dot, 1 MOA, got extremely bright. But it was like I had seen it, there was a Green Beret veteran who had started training, and he'd worked with Leupold. I believe he got that Devo, which was the 6x optic that kind of went to the side, and it was like a 6x scope, and then you would put a red dot on top of it. So the Leupold LCO and the Devo, you would have two windows that were stacked over each other,
wow.
and you had 1x and 6x.
Oh, wow.
So you could just look down, and that would be your, instead of zooming back and forth. It never really caught on, but it was a really cool concept. But he had the LCO, and I thought it was cool. So that was vibes. Like I got it, and it was clear, it worked. But that optic had a ton of electronic issues, and like I know Zach was running one for a long time too. But frequently you'd have to just stop working. You have to get a replacement. And then EOTech had a 1x, a single dot only, the -1 reticle, which is my favorite EOTech reticle by far, and they're lame for not making more of them. They at one point they made it a standard, and then they got rid of it again for who knows why. It's just so the thing with that one is that the center dot gets so bright and blooms so much that it really looks like a massive like 8 or 10 MOA dot, but it can go all the way down super precise. So like for 3 unlimited division, or if you're zeroing your rifle, that 1 MOA super tiny dot is just, it's so perfect for precise shooting. So you have the entire range. And the other thing was it had like 18 adjustment settings that were like just fine-tuned micro adjustments.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of dots on the market have like, dim, and then too bright. And it was like this massive gap where you couldn't really fine tune it. I think that's starting to go away. Like now you see optics have like the correct range of usable adjustments for daylight. The XR is perfect like that. Like I can tune it exactly where I want.
Yep.
It's basically vibes, and like, and the XR is what I run now on the PCCs.
Yeah.
It's so clear. Like the mount, you can get whatever height you want because it's RMR.
Yeah.
So you could run it high, you could run it low. And you can run it in the 6 MOA configuration or 2, and I looked through it and it looks good.
That's interesting.
I'm really fascinated with the term vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to wrap my brain around it because I think that's where the secret sauce is. It's not necessarily the equipment or that. It's like, what is it? What is it?
Well, the thing is, I don't even know.
Exactly.
Just speaks to you.
Yeah.
But so one thing is like, how do you get yourself kind of in the zone and comfortable? You mentioned it at the beginning, just before the stage. You've run it through your head. How do you get yourself comfortable and just natural, I guess, vibe? You're ready and you're just flowing through it. How do you get yourself in that?
So if the stage is fun to shoot, it's easy because it's exciting. And a lot of times that will be if it's like an interesting puzzle, or if it has a good flow, or if it makes you feel like a good shooter. Stages can make you feel like a good shooter, by the way, based on how they're designed. Also, stages can make you feel like a terrible shooter, even if you are great, because they're designed in such a choppy, technical way where it's like it's so difficult to execute every position.
So how do you handle that? How do you how do you make yourself comfortable in a uncomfortable stage?
A lot of times I don't. I just shoot it.
Just shoot it.
Yeah, and you'll just bring more control in, and maybe you're like, I know that this isn't going to feel great, but you can also, be comfortable that everyone else has to go through the same thing. And you're like, oh, well, if I just, shoot control, then I make less mistakes than everyone else. I'll be happy with the score at the end, even though it might not be the most fun stage to do. But it's like, I appreciate that challenge because it forces you to have that, the mental bandwidth to cover something that you enjoy or that you don't enjoy.
I'm still picking at the vibe thing because like it's a really cool word, but I still
like in software now, everyone's vibe coders.
Yeah, which blows my mind too. They use AI and
Yeah,
just
Claude
vibes
just does
code.
everything. Yeah.
So, but the thing is, this is like, as you're always pushing yourself to be, beyond your limit. Kind of where your limit is, but is there a certain point where you push yourself too much, you start making a mistake and messing up, and your brain plays tricks on you. Was that a squib? And it throws your vibe off. I don't know. Is that? But how do you keep yourself in the flow, the vibe, the vibey feel, the zone, I don't know. It's all nebulous here.
To me, maybe that might be a good question for Ashton. I feel like I'm just I don't think too much about it until the end of the day.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Like the time to analyze, and then you're gonna perform, and then you analyze later. You just do the job.
Yeah.
You already prepared yourself. Just do it.
I just try to be in perception mode when I'm shooting. So like
take it all in.
Yeah, collect information and
perform.
kind of file it away.
Yeah.
And then take a look at it later. Don't really get worked up about anything.
I'll touch a little bit on that one. So it's like, you're how many years into competitive shooting? You think?
Almost 11 or maybe 11. No, yeah.
Okay.
About 11 right now.
All right. So I'm less than 50% of that. So obviously I'm coming in at a different mindset. Where he's at is where I aspire to be, and I'd say everybody wants to be there, where they can just kind of be at the match, full, mindset and skills are being put to it, and after we'll collect and analyze that data to be able to make ourselves better. To whereas you'll probably attest to this too, is we see a lot of shooters who will mess up and it carries through the whole match. And that's horrible. It's detrimental. If you already have that one big issue, it's going to hurt you on that stage, and it's okay because it's a long match. Normally we call them marathons rather than sprints at a bigger match.
Yeah.
But if it starts to, snowball effect and carry with you,
how do you break that?
Yeah, it's hard to break that. And for me, I have had the snowball match, and I realized that one snowball match that you can't do that. You can't try to create a pace that's faster than what you can compete at normally, and then magically hope that more issues are not going to become present, because that's never the case. If you try to ramp in more speed at a match where you're already having fundamental issues, you can imagine these issues are now going to start coming out more and more and more and more. And that happened at me at Area 6 this year. I shot PCC. It was my first big match going into PCC unranked. And I had 3 stages left, and I looked at the scores and I was like, wow, if I have 3 all-star runs, I can be within like 1% of max. And I'm like, it's pretty good. If I have, 3 medium stages, I can be second place. If I have 3 bad ones, I obviously get kicked out of second place. Well, I get to the first of the 3 stages, and I have a mic. I didn't call it. It hurt me, and it put me down to a place where I'm like, wow, now I have to all-star 2 stages to get second place. And of course, the next stage I do decent, but I have another on-called mic. So now I'm like going into this last of the stages. I'm like, I have to pull out a stage that is incredible. I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try. So I shot at this pace that was, 2.5 seconds plus faster or whatever. But then I had 2 uncalled mics on that stage. So that snowball effect right there ruined it all the way. Luckily, I scraped up enough to make podium and got 3rd place, but that was a learning experience for me to say, don't let that happen. Have that issue, get back to that same pace where you can be consistent at, and the same pace that you train at, and don't expect that you're going to pull out this legendary run and it's going to just happen on the last stage when you say it's going to happen, because that's what caused me to have those issues. So, that was a big learning experience. So, hearing that, at your level that you're taking it that way and just doing this kind of vibe, run and stuff, it obviously does entail some more stuff. Like you said, the vibe thing, like what, yeah, well, the vibe, right? Like what stands out and gives you the vibe and things like that. But also another thing Max mentioned is the stage is fun. It makes a big difference. It really does. Being able to want to be there and want to do that stage and watching your friends do it, and you really excited to get up there and have the command to make ready. That stage typically seems to be my best as well. There's always that stage, like you mentioned, where it's a choppy, doesn't flow well. I as well tell myself that, hey, if it sucks for me, it's gonna suck for everybody else.
Right.
And I kind of just let that.
Unless it's a low port and Justine's shooting it.
Exactly. If it's a low port, Justine shooting, whatever, But I have the advantage of the high stuff, This does come into play and things like that. So it is interesting, that to hear somebody who doesn't shoot competitions a lot, though he did take a bent class. He did get out there and have some
I got
fun.
mostly yelled at. Yeah.
We had a good time.
He almost beat me with a stick. He threatened to.
He did.
What are you doing?
Yeah. So, it is interesting to hear, questions from a non-competitive shooter to get that, level of detailed question for somebody like Max.
So like when he yelled at me, I would do worse.
Yeah.
So when you say vibes, there's good vibes and bad vibes, right?
Yeah.
So what if you, there's a horrible stage, you have a bad gut feeling about it. How do you turn that bad vibe into good vibe?
Yeah.
I actually think a little bit of annoyance is healthy, but it has to be the right amount. Like if you're just not in a mindset where you even want to be on the range, and
what would you do?
Yeah, the kind of the only time that's happened to me recently is other than some local stuff, is actually World Shoot. I was very, very unhappy most of the entire event at PCC World Shoot.
At the administration or the organization?
Yes, the running PCSL has given me insight into how our sport is provided to the shooters at a high level, produced and everything. And part of what I'm doing is trying to change the culture and improve the experience for everybody. And we're always trying to find ways to make the matches better and a better experience for people. And I think seeing the kind of how everything was just Mickey Mouse together, and the lack of preparation and the lack of foresight. When I got there, after, they make World Shoot so incredibly difficult compared to our national championships or anything. I feel like it doesn't have to be that difficult, but when you're trying to organize people from every country and make sure that all permits are okay, and it has to all go through an IPSC portal and this and that, it's like it takes most of your bandwidth for multiple months leading up to the event. And it's just a drain on you. Preparing for it is a massive drain. You don't know if your ammo is going to get there. We were trying to get a pallet of ammo shipped over that was the right amount, and then so we ended up you end up having to not follow the rules and bring extra in your baggage and hope that it all gets there, and then have to plan for a backup plan. And everything usually turns out okay, but there's always that chance that your ammo won't arrive, your guns won't arrive. You're gonna have to be adaptable. So that mental strain, and then when you get there, the stages are in my opinion very poorly designed, where not just subjectively, but
truly bad
by a target's position. If you had shifted it here, it would have opened up this other option and made the flow a lot, not only nicer movement wise through the stage, but it would actually create a bigger challenge where you could execute multiple skills at once to separate yourself as a shooter that has a bigger portfolio of skills, while still keeping the challenge for a lower level shooter exactly the same. So that's the kind of thing in stage design. I could get really deep in the hole in stage design, but
so that whole package, did it affect your performance?
Your vibe? Yeah, I was trying to get out of it the entire event, and I think because of my experience, especially running PCSL, it affected me really, really negatively.
Yeah.
And talking to other pros at the event, especially Pavel, he got second place. He was affected by it too, but not as much as me.
Yeah.
And I think neither of us, even though we were first and second, I think neither of us, I saw a lot of his stages and we did not have our best matches.
Yeah.
I don't think either of us had anywhere close to our peak level.
Yeah.
Which was really disappointing to see at a first World Shoot. I'm extremely happy for him that he won. And then I get to shoot against him again when he comes for PCSL Nationals. So last year I got second to him again at PCSL Nationals. I ran the match and it was trying to shoot it during staff match and then finish later. But yeah, it's that kind of thing is just it was tough for me. I couldn't do it. And it was 6 days in a row. That was also very annoying, is how much time it took.
Yeah.
Because you had team meeting Friday night and then this thing and then the opening ceremony, and it's why are we starting? And then Monday starts and you get to shoot 4 or 6 stages, and 3 of them are short courses. And then Tuesday, and then you have a day off, and I'm just like sitting there. Then you have 3 more days, and
I think you need to learn from Taylor Swift.
Oh,
Shake
yeah?
it off.
yeah. Well,
Shake it off. You know how in pro sports, sometimes all it takes is someone making a little comment, something, it can throw you completely off your game.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So I think this is the weakness of the vibe. You've got to lock in the vibe, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And not
Lock it
let the
in.
external things affect your vibe.
It
Yeah.
basically made me very validated that I had started PCSL when I did, because being PCC being my main division, this world shoot was, it was supposed to be the absolute premier level that I could achieve within my division in our sport. And seeing the lack of attention to detail and the lack of cohesion and just the way that the event was produced
Yeah.
was so disappointing to me that really this is the top tier, like this is it. And that, like, especially with running PCSL and trying to elevate it to that level or beyond,
Yeah.
it was just crushing to me from like an emotional standpoint, that I invested so much time in the sport, and this was the end of it.
Yeah.
So and like luckily I have PCSL because I'm like making a difference in trying to push the quality of these prestige events. Because if I hadn't had that, I would have been even more crushed, I think. So
Maybe my first shoot will be PCSL. So
Yeah,
you can help me.
Yeah, I can say that the vibes of the PCSL
Is much better?
are superior to any of the major matches I've been to and other shooting disciplines. So yeah, thank you for taking all those years that you have put into the sport and kind of having all your ideas, which a lot of people do, but having a league that you've implemented all of these thoughts and stuff into, it shows. Especially for me, like I said, I'm on this will be coming up on year 4 years of competitive shooting. I've done a lot of matches since then. I traveled a lot last year to try to get out there and see what the playing field was like, and a lot of different styles of matches that I shot. And at PCSL, all those things that you mentioned, they do show that you do care about implementing into the sport. It's the most fun, and again, the word vibes definitely makes sense around PCSL because the vibes of PCSL are huge. I wore a costume this year to nationals.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And I heard a lot of people during the days that I was there in the costume that they're gonna make that their next year's goal is to wear a costume to the match as well. So should see a bunch of that. And being able to be competitive at the national level and still have things like a live DJ on a stage where you're shooting off against your best friends on a match. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It brings the community feel and friendliness and the competitive aspect all tied in together, which I feel like is kind of the hard thing to do, because most competitive people might not look like they're having the best time. They're really on edge. They're very competitive. They're studying. So for that match, it was a lot of fun. And then the technical aspect of things, the stage was ran like they were really fun, really technical stages, but they didn't flow awkwardly. That was a really cool part. Like the one stage where you're starting in a car, running around, you had so many options to do. That was a lot of fun, so definitely it's cool to be able to see you, kind of have your own little baby, if you will, that you're molding of a sport that's already taking off and getting more traction and attention in the major matches that are being presented that have been here for 20 plus years,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to be able to be part of it and be shooting these matches. They're in what I consider this is the time now that's skyrocketing the league. It's making all these people realize what it could be. And a lot of sponsors are also attaching on to PCSL, which is huge. I hope that we get to be able to attach, a main big sponsor for PCSL in the future, because you're covering all sorts of different firearm types that they're allowed to shoot that they haven't been able to shoot in the past, which is a lot of fun. So I'm really excited for the future of PCSL and Osight, together as a whole too. That's a really, really endless amount of opportunities that could be there for sure.
What do you think is the next big leap for PCSL? Big level up?
There are a lot of big steps that really like we have to take at some point. It's just a matter of what's prioritized. Teaming up with Hunter and starting the concealment format as kind of its own thing. The concealment divisions we were putting into the pistol format. So like at your local clubs, you will be able to see now practical competition and PCC, but also defensive practical and defensive competition. So those will be all lumped up under one match umbrella. But for the major events, this year, Hunter and I are piloting the Belt Defensive Championship, which is kind of like, I guess you could say, an evolution of PCSL that kind of brings in some of the IDPA flavor. But it's basically just standard PCSL with concealment requirement added. And it makes a lot more sense than trying to shove a concealment requirement into two-gun or into USPSA, where the sport itself is not really designed around it.
Right.
We got a lot of interest in that, and then elevating that to something that's more of a series nationally. Is what we're planning for 2027. And then on the other hand, there's a lot of interest from military and law enforcement communities in the PCSL.
Awesome.
So, and I think that it's really like, I think the vibes at PCSL are way more welcoming to that community.
Huge.
And the equipment rules are modern, and so that everyone can bring what they actually use in real life. And there's no like, the like tac Timmy or like tactard,
Scrutiny on
like
your
stigmatism about like their egos or anything. So like I think people in USPSA are kind of blind to that, where like like maybe some cops don't want to compete because they're worried about their egos, but that's kind of a minor fraction of them. Like in general, the mil LE community now knows how important it is to test yourself on a timer and how useful competition is to build your skill set. And the way that USPSA has adapted is just like, it just hasn't been there. So they haven't modernized the rule set, their equipment divisions, and it's just like PCSL is a natural home for that community. So I do want to push that a lot and have more law enforcement only events, and maybe turn that into a series too. Other than that, like, we want to work on the classification system, get a lot more data for that. So like once we run the defensive championship with Hunter, the concealment divisions will have enough data so that we can start a ELO based classification system, the PCR for defensive pistol.
That's exciting. That's a lot of fun. The Hunter's done a lot for the sport. Growing it. PCSL's done a lot for the sport, growing it. So it only makes sense to have that collaboration present now, and 2026 is the year to do it for sure. I'm excited to get down there. Team Osight will be down there doing some concealed shooting for the match as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that, to be able to see how it goes, and then implementing the police with timers. That's huge. I think that'll also make a lot of great benefits to a lot more than just shooting, right? The people who are out there running, serving, protecting are now taking it more serious. What's to lose from that as a civilian? Nothing. We only have more to gain. They're going to be more efficient, more better decision making, and more confident with their ability, which is awesome. So
if you're confident in your skills with firearm, you're not going to be emotional about. You can make rational decisions. You can have more time to process. You don't have to be thinking. Like, this can just be automatic if you need it.
That's a really cool implementation. Be able to bridge all of that together is really cool, and then being able to make them feel welcome with their gear, not having them to be told you can't use this, you can't use that, you can stand here, you can't stand there. Just bring what you have, shoot the match, and the people are very welcoming. And you're going to be able to get something provided to you if you did break something that you couldn't use, which would be rare, I feel like, in that sport. So that's really cool to be able to bridge it all together. All right, cool. Well, some good information there. Well, we appreciate you guys sticking around for our podcast. Let us know who you guys want to see next, or what kind of questions you guys may want to see in the future. We love sitting down and going into a deep dive with people like Max and his league, green dots, red dots, what the future products we might have coming out from Osight. So follow us at Osight World on Instagram. Like, subscribe, check us out for our new content coming out. Might have some new products. We might have some new giveaways we don't want you guys to miss out on. So Max, thank you for joining in.
Of course.
Dave, thank you for all the information on the technical aspect of things that we might not know about. So stay tuned for some more stuff, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.